a family of 7, 5 children and myself and the father. I have 2 girls and 3 boys. The children are all grown and the older ones are away. The youngest, who is about 10, is the one now at home. The child that you're speaking about today, as a person, she's a great person. As a child, she's respectful, she's supportive, and with a very good heart. She's a great mother of 1. She's also God-fearing. The child that you're speaking about today had a very bad experience growing up because at some point she was sent from school because of discipline issues. And when we went to school, we discovered that it was about lesbianism. At that time, we didn't know how to handle it. So as she grew up, we realized that it was something that we needed to live with because she is our child and we love her and we are walking this journey together, understanding. It is a process, but as a family, we have accepted that she's different. And we are just trying to be loving and protective.
I am a mother of both biological and adopted children. I am a cat lover. I am a person who loves nature. My family, I am divorced currently. I live with my children. One of my children is queer, is a non-binary person, and the other one is adopted. They're starting campus this year. I adopted her when she was 12, and now she's 19, and she's about to start campus because the job not life, and they have a child. He's my heartbeat, and I love them very much. Oh, my child is fierce, and they are learning psychology, and they're beautiful, and they're warm, they're loving, they're funny, and they relate very well with their sister. How beautiful for them.
And a mother of 3 children. But right from the beginning, you could tell something was a bit different about him because he was more feminine. He loved dressing up. When he got to his teenage years, that is when now I could tell he was not attracted to girls. He was attracted to boys. And it was hard at first to getting it and internalizing, understanding what was going on. So eventually I got to understand and accepted the way God gave it to me. Going back a little bit, his dad was not that accommodating. He didn't understand it. To him, he felt like if he beat him up, he'll change, you know? And it went on like that until I realized it was making him so scared of being who he was and also affecting even the relationship he had with the other 2 brothers. So we had to part ways with the father. But now he's come to himself, he has accepted himself because I've created a safe space for him where he knows I love him no matter what. His brothers accept him as he is and they love him. And that makes him feel okay. He's a very good musician. He's very jolly.
Marriage yangu nilipata mtu wa Siaya. Mungu akanibariki na watoto 3. Kijana na wasichana 2. Huyu kijana wangu alikuwa na grow kama ni kijana. Akafanya class 8. Bila alijoin form 1, alijoin Ojeko. Sasa akarudi kuingia kwa. Sasa sikujua. Na vile walimu walijua wakaniita, nilijua. Nilipenda huyu mtu wangu na hiyo nini yake bila aliingia hapo. Hata ingawa watu walikuwa wataki. Wanakusema, wanakupiga. Mpaka huyu mtoto wangu alifanya ni karibu marriage yangu. Nilifukuzwa huko Siaya juu ya huyu mtoto wangu. Juu ni mtoto mwenye aligeuka kuwa msichana na alikuwa kijana. Na bila aligeuka kuwa msichana akutu hivyo. Apendi nini? Mesela anapenda tu wanaume. Sasa akutu hivyo. Sasa nilifukuzwa na yeye huko Siaya. Kufukuzwa siku kwa na shida yote. Juu nilipenda mtoto wangu na kila kitu anafanya. Nikakuwa nampenda, tukakuja tukaishi tu. Sasa tumeishi tu hivyo na huyo mtoto wangu mpaka saa hizi. Nao wengine makao ndio sina mazuri juu nilifukuzwa huko. Sina shamba, sina mahali pa kuishi, niko tu nao hapo Siaya tumepanga. Na Tatasha huwa anasema mama, Mungu anaweza kutupenda mpaka tubariki na hii kazi yangu. Mpaka siku moja naweza kupata kitu kidogo nitafute mahali ufanye nini? Ukae.
I'm married and I have 6 kids, and I live in Kisumu. My child is called Mariana, and I love her very much, and we are super close, but many times also worry for her very much, based on how she identifies and how the world is out there is hostile, and cruel to her, and that cruelty is not only limited to her but also directed at us as a family. So there are many instances because of how my daughter identifies that people look at us funny, as if we did something wrong. But generally, it's the violent nature of our society, the hate with which people speak about people like my child, that concerns me so much. And in many cases, I see things that are ill-informed. I see things that do not speak to our inclusive nature as African people. I wouldn't be so much concerned if it was just ending at ignorance, but if it is ignorance that puts someone else's life in danger, then that really concerns me. The journey towards accommodating my daughter, it was very tough one for me at first. Because there are things that I do not understand. So I had to take my time to educate myself, especially on matters of human sexuality. Because, during our time when we were growing up, it was a taboo even to talk about human sexuality with your parents. That's the culture that I come from.
The person in my family who is queer is my sister. She prefers to be identified with she's non-binary, so she prefers they or them. She's a businesswoman as such, and football is her passion. And in our family, I am the only person who knows. What I love most about Latifa is that she's resilient. She's really tried, you understand? Someone else would have given up, would have been beaten down, but she's really tried. And I love that she found football and coaching as a way to give back to the community. And for her, the hobby doesn't pay much, but it's something she's passionate about. And it's something she has really stuck to. And she's hardworking and smart. Her resilience is something to really admire. I think it has brought us closer, because now when she has an issue, we'll talk. And even me, funny thing, when I'm having issues, even if they're related to marriage, the only person I seem to be comfortable talking to is her. And the fact that in the family I'm the only one who knows shows you how tough it is. It's not easy to live with something, and it's you, and you're hiding it from everyone and each person, even the person who should be your family and should know you, you're just hiding it, it's not something easy.
Mimi ni mama wa watoto 5 na wajukuu kadhaa. Kuhusu mtoto wangu ambaye ni Georgina, alikuwa tu mtoto ambaye alizaliwa vizuri, alikuwa ni mtoto mcheshi na ni mcheshi hata saizi. Alafu pia alikuwa ni mtu ambaye ana sauti, yeye ni mtu wa kujizungumzia, yeye ni mtu wa hawezi kuona kitu akanyamaza. Yeye ni mtu wa kujipigania mwenyewe. na amekuwa nayo mpaka alivyo ako saizi, ana hiyo sauti. Na hata vile alikuja akaja akawa akajibadilisha, sikujua kutoka kwake, nilijua kutoka kwa wenzake. Na nilipoisikia sikutaka kufuatilia, nilinyamaza kwa muda, nikanichukua kama miaka 3. Na by the time anakuja sasa kuniambia, mimi nilikuwa kwamba nilishakubali. Hata yeye wakati alikuja kwangu kuja kuniambia sasa, baadaye akikuja kuintroduce mtu wake, alishtuka sana, kwa sababu neno ambalo nilimwambia upendo ni ule ule wa kawaida kama watu wa kawaida. Georgina hajabadilika, yeye amekuwa yule yule, roho yake ni ile ile, hard working, anafanya kazi zake, anasaidia familia pale akiitishwa usaidizi anasaidia. Yeye anajitolea kazi zake muhanga kabisa, furaha yake ni ile ile. Yeye ni yule yule, hata tukimwangalia sisi kama familia ni yule yule. Sasa hapo mimi nitajaji hapo. Mimi hata sina ruhusa ya kujaji. Ni Mwenyezi Mungu peke yake ndio ana ruhusa hata ya kujaji, akae chini akuangalie hivi aseme.
Zuri is my niece. We have a very close relationship, as close as her being my daughter. Zuri is a very confident girl by nature, very, very confident, a leader. She has had a very close relationship with church. She has been a teacher in church from when she was a very young girl. And she's a girl that loves kids. And actually, she's just this butterfly that loves people. That said, she came out as queer. And that has brought some other issues with it, especially so much so in relationship with her parents, with her birth mother and her birth father, and also her relationship with her church, you know, because they look at her as they now see her as a very different person from the time she came out as queer. They no longer see her as the Zuri, the girl they loved. And that has pushed her into a place of loneliness, being alone. For me, the way I see her, she is the same person. For me, she's still my daughter. I'll still love her. We still go out and have coffees. We do the normal things that any parent of other straight people do. So, and I don't understand how her parents were able to look at her as changed.
Hata penye tunaishi, kuna wenye walipiga kelele ili tuame hapo. Juu mtoto wangu ataribu ya watu wengine. Nikaanza kuelezea waache kuongea vibaya kwa watoto wa watu. Tunaona? Juu wakisema wataribu watoto wengine, na hiyo sio nia yake. Yeye ashakuwa huko, amependa hiyo tabia yake. Na mimi pia kama mama yake, nimependa hiyo tabia yake. Yaani unapenda mtu wako na tabia zake. Sasa hata kama mtu anaweza kuwa mtaki, unajaribu kuongea na huyo akuwe na upendo kwa mtoto wako na hiyo tabia yake. Kama wako hivyo, wenye wako hivyo na wenye hawako hivyo, wapende hizo tabia zake. Yaani wasikasengenya mtoto, wasikaite mtoto huko inaweza kuleta kelele. Wapendane tu, wakuwe kama binadamu wote. Jisi wote ni watu wa Mungu. Sasa wakuwe kama kitu kimoja.
Problem is that some neighbors, not all, some neighbors, you hear behind when he passes, they talk about him, gestures. There's some who don't want the kids coming to my home. As much as I try to talk to them, make them understand that it's not a communicable disease. It's not a disease. You get me? This is the way God created him. It is internal. It's not something that he has picked up. It's not something he has been taught. It's not something he has watched and now he's doing. Because if it was teachable, or it was, you can infect, then the ones who are following him would also be in the same line. But no, this is him. And for those ones who do not accept and don't understand, there's only so much you can do. I cannot affect the way you think about me. It's me to worry about what I think about myself.
You know, in Mombasa, things are so bad right now. I don't know if you know. It's so horrible what they're doing. I'll give you an example. Just like a month ago, there's a boy who was practically thrown out, beaten, sodomized with sticks. Yeah, just because he was gay. I'm not sure he was gay or they thought he was gay. When such things happen, you can't interfere. When they're busy beating them, assaulting them, you can't say anything. You'll be the next one there. So you just watch. And you know now those are incidents that are a lot. So Lydia lives in a place where I told her, you stay there, stay in the house. Please, pretend. And you better be alive. Being alive is more important.
Most of the parents fear that once one child is found different, he will affect others. A person who is different is not an infectious disease, cannot infect other children. And I know that this kind of people do not force others to be like them. So they should not be scared of these children, and they should not condemn them. I feel that even our system should be made in such a way that whenever we find these children who are different in our schools, we embrace them and cover them. Cover them so that they're not discriminated upon by the others. Because 90% of the people around do not understand who they are, what they stand for, what they do, why they're different. So they need to be protected and covered and guided. Because if you don't do that, we are pushing them to depression, suicidal tendency, alcoholism, drug and substance abuse, and many other things. And that eventually changes their character.
You see, I didn't create my child. I only carried him in my stomach, in my tummy, in my uterus, right? God created him. And as far as Christians are concerned, and as far as I think all the other religions, we all believe that God is never wrong. So when he created him that way, he knew exactly what he was doing. So who am I to start criticizing his creation? And who are you to start criticizing what God has created? And when he created, he said it is good. And he was pleased with what he had created. So we need to learn, if God accepted him and brought him into this world and accepted her and anybody else who has been born with a different likeness or loving somebody else, we don't have a right to start choosing for them.
My child's name is Pendo. And for me and Pendo, we were staunch Christians. One of the things we eventually had to fold up was church. Because you cannot go to the same place where they're preaching against the very existence of your child. And eventually we had to walk away from church because church says homosexuality is a sin. My child is not a sin. My child is not a pervert. My child is not a sexual deviant. My child is my child. And my child is loved. So the teachings for me are not compatible with how I felt. I think, to be honest, I think we are more leaning towards being more spiritual than going back into organized religion. We don't think that will be hard or will be seen. And I'm not going to allow anything to invalidate my child.
So kwa kanisa walikuwa wanampagua kama ouko. na kuna wenye wanajua mimi ni Christian. Na sasa mtoto ndiye anafanya wanakubagua, wanataka kutoka kwa kanisa. Sasa niliambia tu kanisa hakuna haja, tuwatoe kwa kanisa, atia ni huko wakose kwenda kwa kanisa. Na wote ni kiumbe cha Mungu, yani waliumbwa hapa kwa dunia. Waache kutoa mtoto ni huko, asikaende church. Wamweke tu kama wengine ili apende kanisa. Na pia mimi nikuwe na jina mzuri, nipende kanisa. Nisikache kanisa juu ya mtoto wangu. Mimi pia sikache kwenda kanisani. So unaona ndio waliweza kukubali, lakini ujue kuna watu wengine roho yao ni ngumu. Sasa hata kama wanampakua lakini wanasengenya. Wewe kusema mbele yako, unaweza tukusikia kwa watu. Wanasema hivi na hivi. Lakini sasa mimi nina watu sisikii na iniumizi. Juu sasa najua mtoto wangu wako hivyo. Sasa hata nikisikia mtu alinisengenya, mtu alisema hivi kwake, hainitishi na inisumbui. Niko tu sawa.
My daughter has one of the most amazing relationships with God. Yeah, in a family you find the person who is leading prayers. Yeah, and she's always loved going to church right from the time she was young. So in our family prayers, when we say the rosary, she's the person who is leading. Yeah, and I've always encouraged my daughter to see herself as someone who is special in the eyes of God, and that whatever she feels, everything is okay. Yeah, because each one of us has an element of uniqueness, and our uniqueness makes us special in the eyes of God. So my daughter is also unique in her own way. Though as human beings, we often judge people who look different from us, who think different from us, who see things differently from us, who identify differently or feel attracted to people differently than us. But that is not how God looks at us. Yeah, just the same way as we have unique fingerprints. And we don't criminalize people based on the uniqueness of their fingerprints. Yeah, so we should never discriminate or stigmatize people based on how they love differently or how they are attracted to people differently or how they identify differently.
If I look at the basic teachings or that teaching of Christians is that you're supposed to love one another. And if I love her, it doesn't matter what else she can be. I love the person, and that is the person I see. When I see her, I don't see her sexuality. We don't talk about, she's not dating me, so basically, that doesn't affect me. For me, what I see is she's a girl going through what other girls are going through, whether straight, whether queer, it doesn't matter. As a parent, what is important to me is her safety, that she's able to go through this life feeling loved by the parent. And I think for me as a parent, the support I can give her is for her to feel that she's not alone.
God is love. And this same God is a God of mysteries. And his mysteries we cannot understand. So when the woman with the issue of blood came to Jesus, it was a taboo for them to be like that, but he accepted her. There was the adulterous woman who was being stoned. And Jesus pointed a finger and said, if there's anybody who has not committed any sin, should be the first to throw a stone. So what am I saying? I'm saying that God is merciful and God is full of love. Despite the fact that our children are different, the love of God should be shed abroad in our hearts so that we accept them and live with them that way. Without judging, it is the soul that God is concerned about, and our walk with Christ. If they can walk the walk of Christ and follow his ways, then I think our love will cover any differences that we may feel in our hearts about these children.
The Lord's Prayer talks about doing unto others as you'd like others do unto you, isn't it? So me, I am the measure. If I was gay, what would I like? I'd want to be loved. I want to be accepted. Or even the person I am right now, there are so many things I do and they are not necessarily acceptable to the other person. But I want them to understand me. I want them to be lenient towards me. I want them to forgive me when they feel they make a mistake. And if I take that, do unto others as you'd like done unto you. If I take that as the beginning, the foundation of my belief, then I'm able to extend that to that other person who is queer or to my child.
The most beautiful thing about this journey is the discovery that we made mistakes in the past. And most of the mistakes we made is because we did not know. We are learning, and we have learned so much so that we can also help other people understand that a human being can be different. But the Bible says God is love, and you can only express the love of God if you also love.
When I was in senior 2, I had a friend. She was very nice to me. She was extremely good. And one day we went to the bathroom and she held me and kissed me in my mouth. You know the way a boy can kiss a girl? Yes. I was so shocked. I didn't react. But after that, I became wary of her. Okay? But this is back in the early 90s. Okay? There was nothing like social media there. Nothing. I had not even heard of this. But there was a person, because she couldn't have just kissed me. It's not something that she just picked up one morning and turned into. This is a girl who had been born that way. Even then, right? So we can't say that this is something that has been brought on. No. Even our own people, if we're very, very honest with each other, back in the days, it was just hidden, but it has been there. It's not something that started yesterday. Even kings, we have kings in East Africa who we know very well were gay. It is a fact. So can we stop hiding our heads in the sand and calling it something that this is a condition that has been brought, or it's something that our kids have picked up? No. It is something that has been in existence. We have been living with it, and it's time we just accepted it.
There is history of queer people living in this country, and I'm glad I've had the chance to meet an 82-year-old lesbian who's had a relationship for 52 years with her partner. Somewhere in the remote villages of Kenya, they're queer, older queer people. And I'm glad I've gotten to interact with them because I wanted my child to know that they're not alone. And as such, we looked for people, old people who've been there. Some of them who've been closeted, some of them who even have had families who've not been able to live the truth, but they've existed. And they're there. And not even that, in my culture, there were women marriages, right? And until the colonial period that came and criminalized the existence of queerness. Queerness has always been a part of us. And it doesn't stop just because you want it to. It is with us. We can't erase. I think the thing is, and I will say this to the queer family out here, we need to stop erasing the history of queerness so that the people who live like this can know that there is history. They're not standing by themselves, but they have shoulders that have even worked to even give them the little freedoms that they enjoy.
Mimi nitasema hivi, hilo jambo la kwamba lilikuja na wazungu, maanake nakumbuka nikiwa mdogo kuna wakati nilisikia, mimi nakumbuka nikiwa mdogo nilisikia mahali mimi. Kuna mwanamke sijui alikuwa zikuzama ilikuwaje ikawa yeye anaweza kumuoa mwanamke mwenzake. Umenielewa? Lakini sikufuatana naye kwa mdogo, huwezi uliza. Wakati wetu ulikuwa huwezi kuuliza mambo hayo. So ni kitu ambacho kilikuweko zamani, akijaanza jana au juzi, ili huu mama kubalike kumwoa mwanamke mwenzake, wazee waje wakae chini wazungumze. Sababu yako kutaka ni sababu siwezi jifuzaa, siwezi fanya nini, siwezi nifanya mume wangu haya kaa naye, anamlea, anamfanyia kila kitu mpaka kufa kwake. Umenielewa? Ili kuwepo ni ile kwamba haikutolewa waziwazi, watu wakapata kuijua, wakapata kuelewa ni nini.
Yeah, we have always had sexual diversity in our midst. I mean, since the world began. Yeah, if you talk to older people who are familiar with our culture, who can give you authentic information, will always tell you of the existence of LGBTI persons on the African continent, in Kisumu here. Yeah, I mean, long before the white people colonized us. Yeah, I think what we are kind of coming from the West is this notion that if someone is different from us, then now we should stigmatize, discriminate, and even enact laws that make them criminal to exist. So it's the hate which I think is coming from something that is outside of us, because as a person who comes from a Luo tribe, we don't have that hate. Yeah, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of your disability or ability, we are always accommodating. Yeah, so that is, Western importation is the greatest lie that I've ever seen.
The Kaluma Bill is scary because for me, I saw the reality of the anti-homosexuality bill in Uganda. When I first came across it and I read it, it shattered me because it's real to you when you are a parent to such a child, because it means their life as it is now suddenly threatened. When your existence is criminalized, because that's how that bill feels. How will my child get a house? My child is looking at going into college, right? I'm wondering, is it even safe for them to go to college? What if somebody outs them? What if, we've always lived with the fear that somebody will out them somehow. We've contained it in these 10 years, but what happens if somebody who knows rents them a house? The reality is they're trying to criminalize this child for existing. My child is not a rapist. My child has never looked into children, was never taught by anybody. This is just who they are. And for you to criminalize their very existence and turn them into a criminal is terrifying, to be honest. And for me as a parent, I'm already thinking, do we leave the country? Because how are we going to survive?
The bill, according to what I think and what I feel, it's something that is being put in. They want to bring a bill that is going to segregate our children even further. They are already ostracized by the society. Now you want to use the Constitution to fight our own children, which I feel is so wrong, because my child has not done anything wrong to anyone. Already as it is right now, there are places he can't go to. Then now you want to use the Constitution, the same Constitution that's supposed to be protecting all the citizenry of Kenya. You want to use them against them. Why should you do that? That is not fair and it is not right. According to me, I feel that is so wrong, and we shall not agree as parents to these children. Yeah. We have a right to fight for our children. Because I carried my child for 9 months, just as everybody else carried their child. My child is not any less of a child than theirs is. So we need to learn how to accommodate each other. We are all diverse.
Naweza sema Kaluma asigawanyishe watoto. Awache watoto wakue kitu moja. Juu vile ulipata mtu, ulishika mimba kwa sababu mtoto wako au kujua. Na vile akaanguka chini ukamzaa, alipata hiyo nini. Sasa naona hakuna haja akatae watoto wetu wakiwapagua, atewa si hivi au si hivi. Watoto wakue tu kitu moja. Wenye wako lesbian tukue tu sawa. Juu tushawapenda watoto wetu na hizo tabia zao. Naweza muuliza kwa nini anapagua watoto wetu kwa wengine? Hiyo inamaanisha nini? Tupende watoto wote kama vile mwenye ako lesbian, mwenye yuko lesbian, wakue tu watoto sawa. Juu ya asikaone wananipagua au wanitaki, vitu kama hizo. Juu mtu akaona kama vitu kama hizo, mtu anaweza kujiua na hakuna haja. Sasa tupende tu watoto wote wakue tu same. Wako wenye wako lesbian, wenye wako lesbian, tukue tu kitu moja. Juu ni watoto wetu.
The bill that proposes that we give up our own family and or we are criminals too, or they are criminals. Okay, I'll ask you a question. Heterosexuals are we who like I'm attracted to a man. So a gay or a lesbian woman doesn't tell me how to have sex. They don't tell me how to have kids. They don't tell me how to live. Why do we feel the need to tell them how to live? Because whatever he's proposing is unconstitutional. It is against human rights. You cannot imprison somebody because of how they choose to have sex or the gender they choose to associate with. What business is that of yours? How does it affect your livelihood? How does it affect your productivity? How does it affect you? I feel like the bill is for those people who want to keep discriminating and hurting others. I don't think it is necessary. We have so many problems. People are dying of hunger, there is insecurity left, right, and center, but no, you want to go create a bill to just kill more people. Because that is death. When you're putting me in prison for 10 years, what do you expect? When you're telling me to go against somebody I love, someone who's my family, what do you want? How is that something that you can say a religion supports? Religion is supposed to be love and peace and harmony. That is how I feel about it. I'm passionately against it. We just need to do our best to make sure this bill doesn't become a law. But if it does, this is what I would tell everyone. Be ready to survive. My friend, life is hard. A question I would ask you. Who writes history? Not the good, not the bad. Not the nice, not the powerful. Survivors wrote history. Like, you remember that history where the church was killing people, raping women to give birth to Catholic children? Remember that history where Muslims were killing people who were refusing to accept Islam? Remember that history where presidents were assassinating people who were talking against them? Who wrote that history? Those who survived. So, if it passes, let's survive. Before it passes, let's work hard to stop this nonsense.
For me, I think the queer people should just be let be. And if people are just allow them to be and get used to don't concentrate on somebody's sexuality. See the person, really see the person, because you're more a person than just your sexuality. There is the person you are, and you're just not one thing. So if I can learn to see you the person, then I guess in that regard, then your sexuality doesn't come as the only thing I see. Then I'm able to appreciate you, the person, and I can love you, the person.
I've heard of the Kaluma Bill and I've actually read it. And when I read it, I couldn't just reconcile myself to imagine that such kind of hate-filled bill could even be presented to our parliament in the first place. If there's any act of parliament that, puts all ignorance and lack of information together, it is that particular bill. It's called, I saw the title is called Family Protection Bill, but I have been struggling to even find the word family inside that bill. What I see is a lot of sex. So I don't know, there's Sexual Offences Act or something else. Yeah, so it's a bill that has provisions that will make it impossible for me even to live in this country. Yeah, for example, it talks of my daughter as if my daughter is a rapist. My daughter is not a rapist. It talks of my daughter being someone who's recruiting other people to become LGBTI. None of that happens. It will even make it impossible for me to live with my daughter in the same house, because I'm now supposed to go to the police and report to my daughter. And if I don't report to my daughter, I'm going to be put to jail. What are you asking me to do to my child? A child that I gave birth to, a child that I love, a child that I have raised, a child who is God-fearing, a child who is pursuing her career. Yeah. What you're asking me to do with my child, I don't know if Kaluma would be willing to do that to his child. Yeah. So I think this is a bill that would have required Kaluma just to take a step back and to educate himself about what he's talking about, Yeah, because no one wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be a lesbian, I want to be gay, I want to be bisexual. Yeah, these are deep things. It's like as if we are now questioning God's creation and asking God that why did you create people who identify differently? Yeah. So it's a bill that I find really horrifying. Yeah, in the least. Yeah, I can see what it has done in Uganda. I can see the destruction of life that is arising out of it. And I wonder why we would want to do the same to Kenya. We have always been known as a people who are accommodative. We have hosted refugees. Yeah, and here we are criminalizing a part of our population, people who are Kenyans as equally as we are. So there's no person who is more Kenyan than another. So what this bill is asking me to do as a parent is something that just I find. Yeah, you're asking us to redefine family. I grew up being supported by my uncles, so my family members, being supported by grandparents. Yeah, and being supported by cousins. So when you want to tell me that now we have to redefine family to mean that it's a man, a woman, and you are two beautiful children, where do orphans that we live with go to? Yeah, so as Africans, we've always embraced that concept of extended family. Yeah, and if you want to redefine that, we wonder, Kaluma, what became of you? That is not how, as Luos, because you're a Luos myself, see themselves.
Kwanza, ningesema kwanza kama mzazi, Kaluma angelifaa aketi kwanza na wazazi ambao wana watoto wale. Apate kujua akili ya kila mzazi anavyomfikiria yule mtoto. Unaona? Na mimi mwenyewe kwanza ningemuuliza, je, katika familia yako yote tu, kuanzia wakwako, wengine, hujapatana na mtu kama hiyo? Aina hiyo. Umemfanyaje? Umemuua? Na kingine pia, wengine labda wapo na wamejificha. Hawataki kutoka sababu ile uoga. Lakini wakitolewa leo wapewe ile freedom, utashangaa. Unaona? Kwa hiyo mimi ningesema tu kwamba yeye kwanza akuwe na ile wisdom tu. Wisdom kwanza ya kuhandle binadamu.
As a parent to a queer child, it's terrifying when a child comes to you and tells you they're not what the society expects in society. The child is not straight. But the child you loved yesterday is still the child that is there today. There is no difference. If you could fight for that child, fight for them and love your child. You are the difference. For me, before Kaluma comes to my child, he has to go through me. And for you as the parent, that child did not have to be born. You chose to give birth to that child. Love your child, protect your child. Be there for them. There's nothing. Being straight or being a queer does not make your child any different. It's still your child. It's that little girl or that little boy or that little non-binary or trans person that came to you and called you mom. Do you remember that first time when that child opened up and called you mom and how much joy you had, or called you dad and you were so happy? There is no difference. Society should not be the determinant of how you love your child. I will fight for my child to death, and nothing will make me not love my child. Not society, not the church, not even my parents, not my friends. This is my child. I will fight for them. And that's the same thing I will tell you as a parent. Fight for your baby. If your family hasn't been there for you or hasn't stood with you, I am truly sorry. And I just want you to know that there is community and there is love, and that nothing should invalidate you or how you feel. And I'm sorry that, society has made you feel a certain type of way, that you're not wanted or you're not seen or you're not needed. Because of my child, I've been able to take in a few children, nurse them through their pain and their wounds. And I just want to tell you, there are people like me out there who love you and who see you and who want to just wish you well and tell you that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
To the LGBTIQ Kenyans, you belong here. This is your country, and no one is going to kick you out of this country. Feel proud for who you are. Be strong. And to fellow parents like myself, I want us to do all that we can to protect our children. I want us to feel strong. I know we experience a lot of discrimination, a lot of stigmatization, bad things are being said about us. I want us fellow parents to feel okay. There's nothing wrong with you. There's no sin that you committed for you to have a child who identifies as LGBTIQ. That child is a gift. Be proud of that child. Protect that child. And let no one enact a law that is going to harm your child. Let us raise our voices for the sake of our children.
Tafadhali, la muhimu ni kuombea wale watoto na kuzungumza nao kwa upendo. Usiwakashifu. Maanake alipokuwa tumboni huku mkashifu, ulikubali ukasema it's a bundle of joy. Akaja akaumbwa na miumbile yake na sile zake. Sasa amekuwa, bado ni wako, ni mtoto wako. Hata sisi ambao tuko wazee, tuna wazazi saizi, tunaitwa wazazi wa hawa watoto. Wazazi wetu bado wanaitwa watoto. Kwa hivyo sisi ni watoto bado pia, tukiwa chini ya wazazi wetu. Kwa hivyo na wale pia ni watoto wetu. Tunafaa tu kuzungumza nao, kuwaelewa. Na ukichukua muda kumwelewa mtoto wako, hautakuwa na tatizo. Pata hata yeye mwenyewe akuambie hii ni nini na kwa nini. Na pia usimkashifu hiyo saa. Sikiliza tu. Alafu chukua muda wewe kama mzazi. Uende ukae chini. Tunataka ujiite mkutano. Wao sasa wewe wako na huyo mtoto useme, mtoto ameniambia hivi, ameniambia hivi. Sasa hii nitaichukuaje?
But I don't understand why I should struggle to love my own child, sister, brother, because of who they choose to love, how they choose to identify themselves, or what they can't change from inside them. You understand? We find it difficult to accept change. But the thing with society, if you're going to let people tell you how to think, how to feel, how to live, you're going to live a very, very miserable, mediocre life. Even apart from being gay or lesbian or queer, them or they, something each and every individual needs to learn. And something we all struggle to learn, even though some people don't want to accept, is accepting ourselves. You know, what is your purpose? Who are you? What do you want? Where do you want to be? What type of life do you want to live? What matters to you? Whether you are queer or not, that is everything every individual in this world struggles with. You understand? A few years ago, it was body positivity. That was the slogan. If you are too huge, you were bullied in school and it was an issue. And what did we do? We rose up. We said body positivity. Whether they are thin, they are big, they are small, everybody should love themselves, and no one has the business to start telling people how they should look. Same thing I would tell a queer person. Darling, they rejected you. Painful, pray about it, cry, let's move on. But please take time to understand who you are. What do you want out of life? Where are you heading, or what are your goals? What kind of life do you want to live? Where do you want to live? Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? That is the most important thing.
What I would tell to other queer children, first and foremost, is to realize that the spaces where you are living in are not safe. So first and foremost is to guard your safety. Look at the society you are in. Even straight kids, I mean, you will not walk, you can't be a straight girl. Are you going to walk with a very short dress? You'll be harassed for some reason. So if you are selfish about your safety, then you guard your actions. You guard your actions. Where do you reveal this? Where do you reveal that? Until when our society grows to a time where they are very receptive about the queer persons. Because you want to live. You want to be able to be alive. For the parents who are having queer children, for them is first to try, I would urge them, be curious. I think if you are curious to understand, what does it mean to be queer? Read as much material as you can. Be among the queer people. Even your own child, ask them if you can be able to get to that point to where you're able to speak to them so that they can be able to confide in you. For me, I would tell parents, remember, the kid out there, out there in the marketplace, is not safe. So one place the child needs to feel safe, it's in their own home. So if a parent realizes that if my child first and foremost came and said they are queer, the society right now is not very receptive. So where does your child feel loved? Where would your child feel safe? It is your own home.
I wish that this information would reach many people. We put our voice to this and say, these are children. They are our children. They're human beings. We love them. They are earning an honest living. And they are part of this society.